Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 15 of Season 3 NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Toyota Save Mart 350 here at Sonoma Raceway as we're getting set for 15 laps of racing here at this big 2-mile road course. Now, before we take a look at the starting lineup, let's take a look at how the point standings look coming into the race today. After last week at Michigan, after an eventful race at Michigan, in fact, Charles Sanford lost a good chunk of his points lead. He only leads now by 9 points over teammate James Qualls. Third is David Rivera. Fourth is Emmanuel Hartnett. And then fifth is our pole sitter for today, Dylan Jacobs. Then sixth is Austin LaPlante. Seventh, Dylan Young. Eighth, Joshua Sekuli. Ninth, Peachy London. 10th, Preston Plord. Currently, the wildcard drivers are still Rafael LeDuc and Chris Dollarton for being the highest outside the top 10 in points that are also in the top 30 in points with a victory. So, basically nothing has changed as far as the wildcard spots go. But with that said, let's look at the starting lineup. Starting in the last row is Trent Dunham and Phil Parker. Top 10, Dylan Jacobs on the pole, like I said. Starting next to him is Dylan Poteet. Row 2 is James Qualls and Rafael LeDuc. Row 3 is David Rivera and Tim Walsh. Row 4, Tim Fiegel, Chris Dollarton. And then row 5, Chris Michaels and Matt Haas. With that said, let's get the command to fire engines for the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma.
Drivers, start your engines!
And there you go. It's like, couldn't he have not said that faster? That's just me, of course, but yeah. An interesting change for this race. Cautions have been turned off, because I tried doing some testing to see if we can get green flag runs without a lot of wrecks, and basically it's almost inevitable that they're going to wreck, so we're just going to wing it this time around. But the pace car's in pit road, and it's time to boogity 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 go racing. Well, a lot of cars have been wrecked during the first lap. A lot of cars wrecked in the first lap, including the points leader, Charles Sanford. The first car I saw that got sent around in the first couple of corners was Peachy London. And obviously that started a chain of events that went on for a bit. And there's Sanford's car. Dorian Facepuncher was involved as well. LaPlante I saw go spinning, same with London, but they somehow, someway kept it together. And Dylan Jacobs comes through still as your leader. We're basically waiting for at any moment those two, the 03 and the 62, to be officially done for today. But yeah, with Sanford now wrecked somehow, some way, that actually opens up the door for a new points leader going into the next race, which will be Las Vegas. And right now, Qualls would have that spot, but Rivera would also perhaps surpass him in the standings as well. And funny enough, these two right now are actually fighting for the third position right now. So this is the best battle we've got going on track right now. Rivera and Qualls over who's going to be running third at the moment. And Rivera's right on the back bumper of the 70, but lost a little bit of time there up the hill. And then right behind that battle, we have a potential battle ongoing for fifth. Rafael Leduc has Benjamin Miles on his back bumper. Dylan Poteet in second, but he is not too far behind the 78, but you can tell he is losing ground. And the 03 has officially put his car over the wall, and he is done for the day. So, tough break for the points leader, Charles Sanford. But Dylan Jacobs has that lead still. Poteet looked like he gained a tad bit on the 78. I don't know. We'll see here at the line. Last time by, it was nearly 0.8 of a second. It actually has shrunken to 0.71 seconds. It was 0.77 seconds. So Poteet is slightly faster than the 78, but if he can get up to that back bumper of the 78, would he be able to get by him for the lead is the question. And also, keep in mind, pit strategy is going to be a big factor here in this race, and depending on when they all decide to go into pit road. And as officially, Dorian Facepuncher has put his car over the wall, so he is done for the day as well. So yeah, both Facepuncher and Sanford are done for the day as a result of different accidents that occurred on lap number 1. Right now, Rivera's been losing a little bit of ground on the 70 of Qualls, but he is still within reach. Maybe he's waiting to time his move, although he just lost a good chunk of time there, and Leduc actually gained a little bit on the 6. Let's see the margin now. Margin at the top 2 is pretty much the same, though lap time-wise, Jacobs was faster by 1/1000th of a second over Poteet, but Poteet is still there within reach. Qualls still running strong in third with Rivera right behind him. Leduc has been doing a good job of holding off the 55 of Benjamin Miles, but Miles hasn't given up yet. Looking around to see what the closest battle is for position right now, and right here, can't tell what spot that's for, but that's Joshua Sekuli in the 79 going past the 51 of James McLeod. So that would be roughly around 28th position right there. That was the closest fight. And then right up here, Charles Jackson right on the back bumper of Mark Lane. Not sure for what spot that is either. Oh, it looked like Jackson put the bumper to the 41 a little bit, but couldn't quite make a move work. And then meanwhile, Matt McIntyre trying to reel in Jessica Sheldon for position, and whoa, Matt tried to go for a crossover move, and it looked like Sheldon just aggressively moved him out of the way a little bit. I don't know if the 24 is going to be happy with that. No, he thought about trying to turn the 02, but decided against it. But he is still on the back bumper of Shelton, though. Not sure what position that's for. According to scoring, it's for the 18th spot they're fighting for. And here comes Matt. He's got that run. Can he clear her, though? No, they're still side by side as they're going through S's here. But I think Matt might get the advantage. Oh, he had a curb and gets into the O2 a little bit, and then Sheldon comes back with a little nudge of her own. They're still side by side. But I think Matt's going to have the possible advantage because we're coming to the apex, the paperclip part of the racetrack. Let's see what happens. Still not quite able to clear the O2. Right now, this is the best battle on track right now. As according to scoring, Dylan Jacobs still has the race lead, but now Matt McIntyre clears the O2. After a nice long battle for that spot between those two. And now Benjamin Miles somehow, someway, uses the outside lane to go by the 99 of Rafael Leduc. That was a big pass by the 55, so that moves the 55 up to the 5th position. But back up here at the front, Dylan Jacobs still doesn't have a huge lead, but he has held on pretty well. Right now he leads by just a little over 0.8 of a second. Still not a giant lead by any stretch of the imagination. But Poteet has been trying to figure out what is it he's going to have to try and pull off. Oh, but he's coming into pit road. That's a sign of pit stops. Depending on when people decide to come into pit road, will some people have to pit again before the end of the race, or is this going to be a one-stop deal? But they're just now getting to the halfway point, so it's going to be interesting whenever we come down to the nitty-gritty at the very end of this race. Excuse me. And it looked like it was only Poteet that went into pit road, so interesting strategy for the 31 of Poteet. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily going to be a great strategy in the grand scheme of things, but definitely a gutsy move on the 31's part. And he does get done with a stop, even though he got a little wobbly coming out. And does scrape the wall a little bit, so I don't know if that's going to really affect him, but we'll see. And now here comes the 78. He's coming into pit road. And it looks like almost everybody's going to come in this time. Trying to look around for anybody that might stay out, and no, it looks like everybody's going to come in all at once. So I don't know if that strategy on Dylan Poteet's part is going to really benefit him. I think it's going to make it worse for the 31 because he was the only one that pitted on lap 7 going into lap 8, and everybody else pitted on lap 8 going into lap 9. So I got a feeling Poteet will have to come into pit road one more time before the race is over, but everyone else I think will make it on gas. But let's try and get up to the 78. If I can find him. There he is. He actually does get out first. Qualls comes out second. I heard some contact with some cars. I don't know. Oh, there might be a stack-up problem. Oh, and there goes Chris Michaels. He goes spinning. And Leduc went sideways, but he saves it, but ends up losing a ton of spots. A lot of different guys having trouble getting off pit road, and Dylan Jacobs has the lead, but Poteet is coming right up there. I don't know if Poteet can somehow make it the rest of the way. This might have worked out for him because he is slowly reeling in the 78 of Dylan Jacobs. So this might make this race a little more interesting. As I'm looking around to see where some of these drivers ended up at after some contact was made. Chris Michaels still going on track. I don't think anybody else wrecked out officially. Although Kyle Matthews and Seth Cole, they're way out of reach. But back up here at the front, we got a fight on our hands for the top spot. The 78 and the 31 going to fight it out, but the problem with Poteet is that he is going to have to hope he can make it the rest of the way on gas. Otherwise, he's going to have to come into pit road one more time before the race is over. But we'll see what happens. But he is right there to the 78, so we got to fight for the lead for the first time today. Meanwhile, Qualls is slowly pulling away from the 55 and the 6. Tim Fiegel having a strong run going right now. He's currently in the 6th position. Yeah, that's Johnny Gardner in the 7 car. Running on track. But anyways, back up here at the front, however, Dylan Jacobs still holding off Dylan Poteet, and you can definitely tell the 78 is now starting to pull away a little bit because he does have fresher tires than the 31, but the 31 is not going to give up. He's still trying to get up there. Still looking around the field to see what all is going on. And so far as cars out of the race, it's still only 2 that are relatively done for today, and that's Dorian Facepuncher and the points leader, Charles Sanford. So yeah, I feel like I could guarantee you we're going to have a new points leader going into next week, which is Las Vegas. And I think it will be James Qualls that takes that spot. But I do also think David Rivera will also go by for the points lead as well. So, and also I forgot to mention with Dylan Jacobs leading, and he has definitely clinched the most laps led bonus points. If he can stay up here running where he is, he'll close in on the points lead as well. So, a lot of different things can happen going into next week at Vegas. Still a lot of scenarios still in play, as we are now less than 4 laps to go here at Sonoma. Looking around for a potential battle going on, and we might see one here for the 8th position between 2 Stewart-Haas teammates, Zach Flickinger in the 4 and DJ Curtis in the 14. And DJ Curtis announcement was that for season 4 he's going to move to the number 4 car, so he's still going to be for Stewart-Haas Racing, but he's just going to move up to the number 4 car, which is actually, if I recall, I think that was what he ran at one point in Walmart Cup Series, so that'll be like a return ride for the DJ Curtis. Curtis, I don't know if he's trying to fight the 4 for that spot, or he's just trying to time it. I'm not entirely sure. But looking around elsewhere to see what all is going on, and it's basically pretty much spread out at this point. And back up here at the front with now less than 3 to go, Dylan Jacobs continues to extend his lead now to nearly 0.8 of a second over the 31 of Dylan Poteet. Now, Poteet's going to be an interesting driver to keep an eye out for here in the next lap or so, because he pitted first out of everyone else, and he pitted relatively earlier than I anticipated, I should say. He pitted on lap 7 going into lap 8, so I got a feeling he may have to come into pit road next time by if he can't make it on gas to the rest of the way. So Poteet not coming in this time. So I got a feeling when they come back around, he may have to come in one more time. But then again, he might try and risk it and see what he can do with that risk. But Dylan Jacobs, let's see how the lead looks. Now it's extended to nearly 0.9 of a second. So this has actually been the biggest lead with everyone cycled around properly that Dylan Jacobs has had all race long. The biggest he had was about 0.83 seconds over Poteet before pit stops happened. Now it's 0.88, and it might end up extending. We'll see if the 31 can actually try and make some ballsy moves to go for that lead. Looking around to see what all is happening around the rest of the field. And not really much. Poteet, it looks like Poteet's going to try and risk it all. As we're coming through the paperclip, we're coming to the white flag here this time. White flag is out for the 78 of Dylan Jacobs. Dylan Jacobs so far this season has had an interesting season. At one point he fell back to 8th in points, but came back up to 5th in points after last week at Michigan. And he's up here and he's been dominant all day. This is going to be a big points day for the 78 team. Dylan Poteet, last time at the line, was 1 second even behind the 78, and he's going to have to really push it if he's going to have any shot of going for that win. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. The 78 has just been running this track very smoothly. But stranger things have happened here on this channel as far as NR races go. And Poteet stays out one more time just to make it for second place. Coming through the apex paperclip, coming off the final corners, checkered flag is about to wave. First time win this season, Dylan Jacobs wins the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma. First win of the season, 5th overall. Dominated big time by Furniture Row Racing. Dylan Jacobs comes through big time to get a phenomenal finish, winning this race here at Sonoma. But let's look at the rest of the results. Dylan Poteet tried to make a strategy work. It almost did in the end, but he still comes through with a great run in second. James Qualls, phenomenal run in third, and considering what happened to Charles Sanford, I think he's going to be the new points leader going into Vegas next week. But how about Benjamin Miles, one of the quietest drivers in the series, comes through with a 4th place finish, and then David Rivera, 5th place run, and he could move up to 2nd in points as well. Excuse me. Tim Fiegel with a great run in the 6th position. I think that could inch him closer to getting into the top 30 in points. Johnny Gardner comes through in 7th. Great run for Zach Flickinger in 8th. Dylan Jacobs, great run in 9th, and then a great run in 10th for Paul Minnick. Rest of the top 20 was Matt McIntyre, JT Bryant, PJ Williams, Tim Walsh, Chris Dollerton, Zachary Fitzwater, Rafael LeDuc, Matt Haas, Jessica Sheldon, Dylan Young. Rest of the top 30 was Charles Jackson, Mark Lane, Jake Rogers, Joshua Sekuli, Dougie Shears, Dylan Thoreau, James McLeod, Emmanuel Hartnett, Trent Dunham, and Andrew Rich. And then everybody else that finished the race were Phil Parker, Chris Michaels, Jonathan Zorline, Preston Plord, Sean Galligan, Austin LaPlante, Ashland Boyd, Peachy London, Seth Cole, and Kyle Matthews. And the only 2 cars out of the race after all the wrecking that occurred on lap number 1 was they were Dorian Facepuncher and Charles Sanford. But that does it for our coverage here today at Sonoma. What an interesting race it was. Next week we return to 1.5 mile racing as we go to an old classic from the Walmart Cup Series days, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But until then, here are your results, rookie points and regular points heading into Las Vegas, and this is Levi McIntyre signing off.